Hello and welcome to Wisdom Trek. This is Guthrie Chamberlain, and I'm your guide to wisdom and creating a living legacy. Thank you for joining us for our 7-day-a-week, 7 Minutes of Wisdom podcast. This is day 135 of our trek, and we will remain one more day at camp as we dig through the nuggets of wisdom contained within the book of Proverbs. We have discovered some precious treasures so far this week, so let's continue our study on the map to wisdom. Yesterday we explored chapter 3, verses 13 through 20, and today we will finish up chapter 3 with verses 21 through 35 as we discover the value of having common sense and discernment. Once we complete the book of Proverbs, we will make the entire commentary available in an ebook. And tomorrow we will return to our trail and look for some nuggets of wisdom as we explore more. If you have any of your own observations, comments, or questions as we explore these nuggets of wisdom, please share them on the comment section of our daily journal pages for wisdom-trek.com. We are recording our podcast from our studios at Home 2 in Charlotte, North Carolina. We just arrived back in Charlotte after a very busy and productive few days with our friends and business partners, Charles and Allison Meekum. We are working together on a couple large construction projects in the Phoenix area. This podcast is being released a little later than usual due to our travel schedule. We did take a red-eye flight back to Charlotte this morning, which delayed the release of this podcast a little bit. I also discovered that day 132 was also linked to day 133. So if you experienced the duplication in episodes, please download day 133 again. Even with the best technology, we do run into glitches occasionally. As we continue our discussion of Proverbs 3, I trust that this time that we spent in camp studying the map of wisdom has been valuable and beneficial. And even if you don't consider yourself a person of faith, as I do, my hope is that you'll stay around and gather the wisdom that is universal to all. As I mentioned the past couple days, the title for chapter 3 is Trusting in the Lord. And the first area we want to look at is common sense is not always common. So let's start out as we glean wisdom from Proverbs chapter 3, verses 21 through 35. Starting in verse 21, "My child, don't lose sight of common sense and discernment. Hang on to them, for they will refresh your soul. They are like jewels on a necklace." So we see in verses 21 and 22 that they should encourage us. We need to keep our eyes and our mind on common sense, discernment, love, and wisdom. We are to cling to them as if they were a precious stone. Gold, silver, and gems may be beautiful, but wisdom is more beautiful than any valuable objects. These attributes are to be so evident in our lives that it's like wearing a necklace. The beauty of these attributes should be very evident to everyone that sees us. So let's continue on in verse 23. "They keep you safe on your way. Your feet will not stumble. You can go to bed without fear. You will lie down and sleep soundly. You need not be afraid of sudden disaster or the destruction that comes over the wicked. For the Lord is your security. He will keep your foot from being caught in a trap." In verses 23 to 26, unlike gold and silver, which many would attempt to take from us, if we hold on to common sense and discernment, no one can steal that from us. They are the part of the very essence of who we are. Life is a trek. And when we have these attributes in our life, we are less likely to make mistakes that would cause us to stumble. And we should have no fear. Verse 24 gives us special comfort. We should not be afraid of those things that go bump in the night, because this passage teaches us that God will protect us. While I do not have a particular problem of falling to sleep at night, I realize that many people do. But we can trust in God. He will keep us safe, and He will protect us. So let's continue on with verses 27 through 29. "Do not withhold good from those who deserve it, when it is in your power to help them. If you can help your neighbor now, don't say, 'Come back tomorrow, and then I'll help you.' Don't plot harm against your neighbor, for those who live nearby trust you." So we see in these verses we have a clear admonition to help others when we have the capability to do so. We should not hold back or delay this help. In Mark 12, verses 30 and 31, Jesus put it this way, "And you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength." And the second is equally important, love your neighbor as yourself. No other commandment is greater than these. Also, as with the story of the Good Samaritan in Luke chapter 10, we see that our neighbor is anyone that we come across that may need our help. So be a good neighbor today. Let's move on to verses 30 through 32. "Don't pick a fight without reason when no one has done harm to you. Don't envy people or copy their ways. Such wicked people are detestable to the Lord, but He offers His friendship to the godly." And we see in these verses, as Christians, we should not be violent or follow the practices of those who are. Instead, we are to be peacemakers. Jesus teaches us this principle in Luke chapter 6, verses 35 and 36. Love your enemies. Do good to them. Lend to them without expecting to be repaid. Then your reward from heaven will be very great, and you will truly be acting as children of the Most High, for He is kind to those who are unthankful and wicked. You must be compassionate, just as your Father is compassionate. So if we don't practice these principles that are listed in Proverbs 3:32, it indicates that our actions are detestable. So let's move on to a section called God Deals with Different People Differently. First, we'll look at verse 33. The Lord curses the house of the wicked, but He blesses the home of the upright. And we see in this verse that God will do good things for us if we obey Him. He is kind to us, and He is kind to our homes also. And the word home in this verse shows that God will help our families also. There is a universal principle that governs God's creation when we contrast the upright with an evil person. And we see that God curses both the evil man and those who live in the evil man's house. The evil man's family suffers because of that person, because of his evil actions. Eventually, those individuals who practice evil will reap a harvest in return. Let's move on to verse 34. The Lord mocks the mocker, but is gracious to the humble. And we see the principle here of planting and harvesting also, and it's always enforced throughout our lives. The time of judgment is coming. God will be our judge, so we should serve God, and we should be humble. We must not be proud. When God is our judge, He will show kindness and love. Some people are proud. They insult other people, but they must turn from their evil behavior. Then God will forgive them. If they refuse God's love, God will have to punish them. The Apostle Paul wrote in his letter to the Church of Galatia, chapter 6, verses 7 and 8, these principles. Don't be misled. You cannot mock the justice of God. You will always harvest what you plant. Those who live only to satisfy their own sinful nature will harvest decay and death from their sinful nature. But those who live to please the Spirit will harvest everlasting life from the Spirit. And our last verse in chapter 3 of Proverbs. The wise inherit honor, but fools are put to shame. So we see in this verse that if we are wise, we will inherit honor. Or it could be said that we will be an honorable person. Remember from our previous discussion in Proverbs that a simple person is someone who is lacking wisdom, but a fool is a person who despises God's truth and wisdom. In the end, a foolish person will be put to shame. So today we learn from Proverbs 3 why common sense is so important and how God deals differently with different people based on how they treat others. And I trust that our time in Proverbs 2 and 3 this last week has been beneficial and that you'll come along with us tomorrow for another day of Wisdom Trek as we will head back out onto the trail of life and see how important it is to be able to pivot or to change trails as needed. And that'll finish our podcast for today. Remember to listen to your daily dose of wisdom at wisdom-trek.com or subscribe at iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spreaker, or YouTube so that the episodes will be downloaded to you automatically each day. And please share Wisdom Trek with your family and friends through email, Facebook, Twitter, or in person so that they can come along with us each day also. The journal for today's trek can be found at wisdom-trek.com, and I want to thank you so much for allowing me to be your guide, your mentor, but most importantly, your friend, as I serve you through the Wisdom Trek podcast and journal each day. And as we take this trek together, let us always live abundantly or fully, love unconditionally, listen intentionally, learn continuously, lend to others generously, lead with integrity, and leave a living legacy each day. This is Guthrie Chamberlain, reminding you to keep moving forward, enjoy your journey, and then create a great day every day. See you tomorrow.